This is going to be the introduction for Rusty and I have received a grant from PALNI, the Private Academic Library Network of Indiana, for this school year for opening up the Woods Core curriculum is our goal to provide all of the Woods Core courses to our students at no textbook cost. So that is our particular focus. This obviously is open to all faculty, regardless of if you're teaching Woods Core or even, Woods Core this semester versus next semester. We understand, obviously, the courses fluctuate, but so we have a grant for that, and that is our focus. But I'll speak towards the end about the PALNI and PALSAVE varieties of grants they have in terms of OER when we get to that point. And so this is a baseline introduction, and we plan to host another one of these in November and then another in early December before the semester ends. And we'll see how many takers we have across the faculty, and then where that might lead us in the spring. In the spring, we're thinking a little bit more individualized librarian assistance and guidance for particular course redesigns, so that they can get we can give you much more targeted information to what your curriculum might need. So let us jump right in. So what are open educational resources? Why adopt or adapt to use OER? These are terms you'll hear in the open educational resources networks and groupings, the words adopt, adapt, redesign. I'll get into that a little bit. And then who are some colleagues that have already implemented OER in their courses at the Woods? Where can you find support for the OER course redesign process? So these are the 4 guiding questions I'm going to go over this evening, and that will just set the stage for the rest of the semester. A good place for any faculty, regardless of their background and experience with OER, to get into. So first, what are open educational resources? This is a great definition from the Hewlett Foundation that has funded a good chunk of open educational resource development. So they are typically, we will be speaking about textbooks in terms of that's what they function to replace, right? So it's free with permissions, or free plus permissions is how you will hear people speak about OER. So the resources themselves exist in the public domain and often have Creative Commons licenses that you see the photos of down below. So there are a variety of different permissions, but free use for education and repurposing often. So the CC BY, the first top left of the graphic, is to just reference the author, right, and give attribution. Then CC BY SA is share alike. So it can be shared and adapted. Then in C with the $ and then cross, obviously, is non-commercial, which if you're just using it for your courses here, of course, it is non-commercial, and please, do not charge. That's the entire point. And then let's see. ND with the = is no derivatives. So that would be an example if you were to find an open educational resource and it had that ND and = Creative Commons license attached to it. That is an example of You could adopt that entire resource, but you could not adapt it. So you can't make a derivative as it stands with that license. So, like I mentioned, predominantly textbooks, but notice this includes tests, this includes software, modules, all manner of course materials, and streaming videos. Obviously, we have many classes that are Woods online, and generally all OER are born digital for the most part. Yes, sometimes like OpenStax from Rice University will print hard copies, but this is a great open educational resources. One great thing is the digital nature of them. So yes, open, free use for our students. And it is predominantly in the higher ed community, and then also has tended to focus on the general education realm, right? So really lends itself to the Woods core for those incoming first year freshman style courses. So that is, again, our focus. Why concern yourself for this? Why is it worth your time? Three main highlights here are that OER are good for the Woods as an institution. So obviously, small liberal arts colleges like the Woods feel the burden of retention more acutely than larger institutions. That's just the nature of the beast. And then reducing costs where possible to students is crucial for private institutions such as ourselves, right? And this is a way to, as small as it might seem to those of us who are out in the world, to reduce any barrier to learning and continuing education for 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 year olds really goes a long way. The average cost of a Woods Core course textbook this semester is about $86. That's a lot of pizza to a college student, right? So just saving them money where you can will keep them around, right? Good for the students. All OER studies that I know of have reported equivalent or improved learning outcomes with the implementation of OER and replacement of for-cost textbooks. I think that is primarily because of the second bullet point under good for your students. There's no delay. I know students will wait till the last minute, wait till they decide, okay, yes, I'm going to stick with this course and not drop it to purchase the text. Or even, try to somehow make it through a course without even bothering to buy the book, just relying on friends or what have you. So there's none of that involved. They actually get the whole thing. You can provide them the entire thing right from day one. And that way they can look at it while they're looking at your syllabus on day one of class, and they can see, okay, yes, I'm continuing with this course, or actually no, like I'm gonna switch to this other one instead, right? That barrier is down. And then good for you. So adaptation and creation, which in the OER realm, we typically say adopting an OER textbook is entry level OER use. At adaptation, right? That's where you can make a derivative. The adaptation of an already existent OER text to fit your specific curriculum and add your own notes in there. That's mid-level. And then creation, that is, you are making your own entire text or bank of tests, course materials that you're putting a CC license on. That is like full-blown OER. So adaptation and creation, those second and third tiers of the OER realm, are advancing your scholarship. Obviously great for your CV. especially if you're, still building up for tenure. And then the second bullet point here is PALNI. So like I said, Rusty and I have received a grant from PALNI specifically focused on opening the Woods core curriculum for this year. And we're really honing in on those, the general ed curriculum, right? And we have the support of the provost and the general education committee in it. We have a lot in that basket. If you do not teach Woods core courses, of course, please still do your research into OER and implement and work on redesign if you can. And there are still routes for that to benefit you. So there are various stipends for those different tiers of OER work through PalSave. So PalSave is a branch of PALNI focused on opening curriculum. So to give you an idea of the different PalSave stipends, if you just review an open textbook, right, that, depending on different things, they offer stipends for $100 to $300 for that. If you adapt or create and thereby redesign your course, just a singular course for use of OER, their current stipend for that is $700 per course redesign. And then they do, PalSave has also gotten into a bit of open pedagogy, and there are even larger stipends available for that. So if you're interested in any of that, Rusty and I have contacts at PALNI and can point you in the direction of the great people at PALNI. And then next up, you get a bit of a break from me. So next up is who are OER campus advocates and colleagues. So I've divided them by the 3 divisions of the college. And a few are with us this evening. If you'd like to unmute and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your dabbling in open educational resources, any experiences with PALNI or PalSave. Yes, please take the floor.
Hi, this is Dr. Jenny Mitchell, and I'd like to share that I think PALNI is wonderful, and I think you folks are great for doing this. I think it's great for us to learn together and be in a webinar. I have experienced several things through PALNI. I've done several course redesigns, and I've done a textbook with Trent Deckard, which that for a textbook, if you create a textbook, it's up to $6,500. So it's a major change, but I probably made minimum wage when I worked on. I've also done the reviews. I've done some of the Merlot pedagogy, just lesson plans for some type of simple structure. So I think it's great. So money always motivates me. So I definitely look at those grants and think, okay, I can squeeze this in. And I'd be glad to show you if you want to see the book, the textbook, how it looks, if you want to see what it looks like, or show you something from Merlot or whatever or you can see my course, how I put the book. One of the course redesigns I did at financial management. Oh, we actually changed our course description some. So I brought an open textbook. I've really used open textbooks for years because you go in the library, you can find tons of books. The thing is, sometimes they, might not be in that same database the next time you look. They might only be there a few years in a row. So you always have to check that. But I've used that for years. I've created my own textbooks, maybe not a huge book, but maybe like 4 chapters because I didn't feel like it was providing what the students needed. And so I'm pleased with what they've done. And I've published with McGraw-Hill, and I felt more supported through this process than what I did going through a corporate process. So, to me, this is a win-win situation for everyone. And I'd be glad to help anyone on, write their application up or talk about, how to maybe make some of the new things we have in Canvas work well with with a course. And I'll tell you this, that this last one I did, the gentleman that had the book had been reviewed by 30 people, experts in the field. And so he not only did I get the textbook, but he had all these ancillary sources and a cartridge for Canvas. And I was scared to death to pull it over. I pulled it over into my sandbox course. And then once I did that and saw, okay, I can do this, then I brought it into my actual course. So that was, it was frightening because I didn't know exactly what a cartridge would do, but it was great. So I would encourage anyone to, find out, go to the application page, fill it out. If you have questions, ask Anna or Rusty, or you could call me. I don't care. I'll be glad to help. And I've taught for a long time, so I've seen a lot of different things go around. This is one of the best supervised grants that I've ever seen. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. And if you want to see stuff, I have it up on my machine. I'll be glad to share.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell.
You're welcome.
Let me check the chat. So Rusty has put a link in the chat for PalSave. And there have been a little bit of hiccups with the full textbook creation grants with them, but they're hoping to turn that around. Let's see. Rusty, would you like to jump in and say anything about the division of arts and social sciences and OER?
So I'll just share my own experience that I've applied for both the course redesign grant for a gen ed elective that I teach to open that up. Even though the textbook that I use currently is not very expensive, I think every little bit helps. So that kind of speaks back to your pizza money, right? And whatever we can do to put more money back in the pockets of students to make their experience more affordable, we'll do it. And the other grant that I've applied for is the Open Pedagogy Grant. So kind of really trying to promote that and give examples for faculty of how they could approach that with, a little bit of a leaning toward incorporating the library into that as well. And so I would say, stay tuned because I will share the things I'm doing with you in some way or another.
Thank you.
So let me also say that all of the PalSave initiatives are grant funded in and of themselves. And so the first round of PalSave and the initiatives that were done were all funded by a Lilly grant. And then just this past spring, Paladin received another grant from Lilly to continue their OER work. And so they are kind of taking their work and their efforts in this realm to the next level with this next grant that they're getting. So if you think that things look a little bit stale, for lack of a better word, with PalSave initiatives, you can expect that to change in the future as they continue to innovate in this area of OER and open pedagogy.
Yes. So I know Dr. Mitchell gave a glowing review, but anyone else, please feel free to jump in and say your experience.
I just want to share one thing if you end up getting a textbook grant. The okay, I found this very interesting. You know, one of the things in the book that I and Trent worked on was talking about visualization and using um, basically, if you remember the wildlife panda bear, you know how it's outlined that that basically is I try to get the approval for that. And so I put my request into them to be able to use that logo to show a point. And I sent it 4 months before the textbook was to be published, and they sent me a approval that I could use it 3 weeks after the book came out. So if you want some, I had to recreate it myself, and I used AI to do it. They let you use AI or create your own. So that's what I had to do. So if you want to use some resources, to show something, definitely do that early on. And a lot of them that did give me okay and do it fairly quickly, they wanted to see how it was going to play out in the book. So they wanted to see the text and then whatever like the one was called pitch logic. And that he wanted to see the text, the image I was using, and how it was going to be discussed. And because he thought if it wasn't good, he didn't want me to use it. So that was an eye opener to me. I spent more time working on some of those kinds of things to keep following up. I mean, you don't want to drive them nuts, but I tried to send them updates like, have you reviewed this request yet? You know, that sort of thing. So that I would tell people just be leery about that because that was eye opening to me.
Yes. And I'm glad that you brought up ancillaries. So both the creativity aspects and then ancillaries. I know many faculty are hesitant because of their reliance on ancillaries, test banks, answer banks, um, especially in math or foreign languages that um, just the different technologies that McGraw-Hill and Pearson and the large companies have put out there for like My Math Lab and what have you. Um, but unfortunately, those are also the most expensive. So that is
Mhm.
for students to pay for. So um, OpenStax and Merlot and the Open Textbook Network have really made a great focus on getting OER in those realms. Um, and I know, Dr. Rob, you use an open book in math course. Yes.
Yeah, currently I use open resource books and on my Woods Core statistics. In all of my upper level math classes, I use them. One in which I wrote the textbook myself, and then um and yeah, I create all the assignments and put them into Canvas. Most recently, I created a class over the summer that had I wrote a program in Python which automatically generated questions based off of I made a like a root like pick n marbles out of and three of them are m of them are red and so forth, and then had the program change how many red marbles there were, how many total marbles there were, and then update the answer to reflect those changes in the marbles as a very terrible example. So yeah, that's experience I have, and I unfortunately don't have any experience of people paying me to do it other than my salary. So yeah.
Well, thank you. Yes. I'm glad, yeah, both the creating the route and Dr. Mitchell mentioning the AI allowance. I think um, the library renew webinar series as a whole will get into AI a bit in the spring, and I would encourage everyone to look out for those webinars that we'll be hosting, and to, see what you can between now and then for how you can use AI to make your life easier, and to, focus your brain power on what your specialty is in your actual course content, and use AI to make your life easier in the development and looking into course redesigning and OER use. So thank you each for your comments, and I just got the little 10-minute warning, so I'll take us to my final couple slides here. Let's see. So the November webinar that we will host will focus in depth on the question of where can I find support for OER implementation, or where can I find actual open resources. So those of us that have spoken have mentioned the places. They all kind of have odd names, except for the Open Textbook Network at University of Minnesota. That's a normal name. Rice University hosts OpenStax that ends in the letter X. There's Merlot, which is from the California State University system, and that is like the wine, but all capitals. So there are various places, and we will explore more of those. Please go and look at my OER LibGuide that we have posted in the library research guides for faculty viewing. It has links directly to those sites that I just mentioned where you can find OER, and just look and see what there is to see. See the positives, and maybe where current things seem to be lacking or might not fit your course exactly, and how you could maybe cobble a few different resources together that you can find. And then, of course, always use what you have from your own years of teaching and research. So obviously you have Dr. Tryon on campus. You have me for virtual support. I'm happy to come on Zoom or Teams and speak with you face to face, or just email back and forth anytime. And then, yes, please stay tuned for our webinars coming up in November and December. And then I mentioned at the top that we're going to hopefully go into more individualized research and redesign consultations in the spring. But if you are ready to go, and you're already you have a course that you have just been itching to change up, and you're like, okay, finally this is the time for me, and you just want to get a jump on it, please feel free to reach out sooner than the spring. We're happy to help anytime. That's what our grant is about. And then, like we mentioned before, PalSave. So not only do they have stipends for review, and then hopefully redesign again soon, and textbook creation again soon, as well as the open pedagogy, but they also offer faculty workshops and just great professional development. They have all the Palny and PalSave community are full of amazing professional, very knowledgeable librarians across the state of Indiana that are very responsive and happy to help and further assisting students, and the liberal arts experience in the small college just thriving. So we very much encourage you to go to those places. And finally, connect with me. It is supposed to say, it got off a little bit. So I just added up there, I received a certificate in open educational resources librarianship from the Open Education Network at the University of Minnesota back during the COVID times in 2020. So I have been passionate about OER for many years now, and it was, you know, half a decade ago when I completed my certificate, and so it's about a, over a decade that the costs of textbooks have just, you know, increased astronomically compared to all other costs, and then of course the ups and downs of the economy that we've even gone through since COVID, right? But it's still something that we can very much assist the students with, and that I really think is worth our time and energy and a great service to them, right? So, yes, my email, please email me anytime. Happy to consult with you about any open education questions, concerns, hesitancies, anytime. And if there are any questions in our remaining time, I'm happy to take those as well. Well, thank you everyone for joining this evening, and please tell any colleagues that you work with daily or that just have any questions that this will be in the OER and the faculty development LibGuide shortly, hopefully by the end of this week. Hope everyone has a good evening. Thank you very much.